And for those who just joined, if you can already turn off probably your microphones for the moment. And we have already quite a few people connected. I think Alicia.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay.
Okay, so I'm launching the jingle.
Thank you. Hello and welcome to everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for this International Women's Day 2021. Thank you very much and happy International Women's Day. I am Christina Balanos. I will be delighted to present and moderate this very exciting webinar from Elles on the theme being a woman in the industry in Europe today. Still in progress, question actually, exclamation. Well, we have a great international panel. We will travel from France to Croatia, from France to Sweden, Finland, and also obviously Germany. And we are, again, a very interesting panel from international people. So let me introduce them to you. I will start with Jeannette SCHUH. You are VP Human Resources at Plastic Omnium Intelligent Exterior Systems, based in Paris, in France. Jerome, General Manager at Atlas Copco product company, based in Munich, in Germany. Nadia, DAYI, Global Business Manager at Atlas Copco, also based in Stockholm, in Sweden. Jasenka, MALTARIĆ-DUJNIĆ, I'm doing my best. HR Director at Colas, based in Croatia, responsible also for Croatia and Slovenia. Madeleine AUSSUDRE graduated recently 2 years ago from ESIGELEC, and you are already for 2 years now, system engineering at Elles, based in Paris, in France. And Prashani, JAYASINGHA, you are a student from ESIGELEC, based in Finland, in Turku. So thank you very much to all, to your company you are representing. And I also wanted to share the fact that we have as partner l'Agence Universitaire de la Francophonie. And dear public, dear audience, that's the moment I will ask you now to turn off your computer, not your computer, stay on, but your microphones. Everyone, if you can turn off for the best conditions, to give the best condition to this event, turn off your microphones if you are not speaking. And because we want you to be active in this event, we would like you to give you the opportunity to ask questions. So please be present and ask any questions you would like in the chat box. We will have a short Q&A session at the end. But before we start and get to the panel, I would like to give the floor to the president of Elles, Marie-Sophie Polak. And the floor is yours. And I would like to ask you, you are also the founder of Elles. Why did you actually decide to create this organization? The floor is yours, Marie-Sophie.
Thank you very much, Christina. Well, I'm very proud to introduce this first webinar in English for Elles, and especially on that day, because as you know, today we started also a campaign saying hashtag, it is hashtag March 8th every day with Elles and with all its partners. So it's a time to say it. And why did I create Elles? Why did I create Elles? Because I am an engineer myself. I have worked for many years in the industry, especially in the automotive industry. And at the moment of my career, I was asked by several human resource directors of a prestigious French company like Dassault or like PSA, Peugeot, Citroën or Airbus. What do you do to have more women in engineering schools? And this question immediately make me think about my own career and how I was as an engineer in the automotive industry. And the answer is to give a better knowledge to all girls and women of what really industry is, how passionate and how enthusiastic are all these jobs. And the problem is all the induced stereotypes that are quite often unaware in our minds of girls, minds of men also. There are stereotypes about industry, and I think it would have been really a problem to have all these girls, all these women missing a potential very nice career just by ignorance or by bad knowledge of what it is. That's how I decided to create Elles that gathers now more than 200 companies and higher education institutions, and more than 6,000 marraines and 1,000 relais, men and women, that are all together talking to girls and young women to make them join the industry by explaining how passionate they are with their jobs. Is that a good answer for you, Christina?
That's a fantastic answer. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I'll ask those who join, please turn off your camera. Also, Madeleine, sorry for asking you that for the moment as you're not on. That's the only possibility we have. Thank you very much for having actually the speakers first speaking. Thank you, Marie-Sophie. Thanks for this introduction. I'll ask you also now to turn off your camera, and we will start the panel, this exciting panel, with Jeannette. Jeannette, thank you for joining. You are, as I said, a VPHR at Plastic Omnium Intelligent Exterior System, the leader in sustainable connected mobility. The company is the world's leading supplier of plastic body parts and systems. You're based in Paris, born and raised in Germany. You have been living in several countries such as Italy, the United States. So you have definitely a very international profile. When you were at the university, you were already very, very much aware of gender equality, and you became very early the gender equality responsible at the uni. What made you actually become so proactive at a young age?
Thank you, Christina. So first of all, it's a big pleasure for me to be here today with all of you and to represent my company and all the different countries also that you just mentioned. So to answer your question, as you said, I was born and raised in Germany. Some of you might know, we also have some panel speakers who will speak later on based in Germany. The system there still today, unfortunately, is extremely traditional, let's say. When a woman has kids. Most of them still stay at home, or in the best case scenario, they work part-time. And so was also the situation of my mum. So actually, it's a quite personal motivation that led me to this engagement. She was not working actively in a company. I always pay attention to what I say because she was working a lot, but it was not remunerated. And I had the impression at that time that she didn't have really the freedom to choose. And this is one of the constants in my fight, in my career, that I really advocate for this freedom of choice that we need. There is no model that is better than the other one, as long as we really can choose what we want to do, and as long as the society offers us all the opportunities.
Great. So how is it to be a woman today in HR of 22,000 people, actually? Have you noticed that there are things that have been evolving in the past years?
Oh, definitely. So today, for me, it's for the first time ever in my career that the topic of gender equality is on the agenda of all the CEOs of the big companies and also of the small companies. It's on the agenda of a lot of people, much more than in the past. In the past, when I wanted to speak about these topics, gender equality, the situation of women in different geographical areas in the world, people were looking at me very, very strangely. And to share also a very personal experience with all of you. So as you said, Christina, during my studies, I was the responsible for gender equality in my university in Germany. And when I started applying for jobs, obviously I wrote my CV, and people who wanted to give me advice told me, oh, Jeannette, you should take that out of your CV because some of the companies might not really like that. And I was extremely shocked. And just to be very clear, I never took it out because from the very beginning on, I considered that if a company does not recruit me because of that, then anyway, we are not made to work together, this company and myself. So today I consider that there is a great opportunity because it's on the agenda, and we, all of us, we have to seize this opportunity, and not only on March 8th, but as Marie-Sophie said, March 8th has to be every day, and therefore I really like this slogan because we have to pay attention to that. It's not one day where we say, okay, let's be nice with women and grant them some attention. No, it's a day to raise awareness. And then everything that we say today, we apply it the 364 remaining days of the year.
Very well. And what was actually, you think, the trigger? You said that there's probably something that happened that opened a door, that it's the best opportunity now to be a woman, let's put it that way. What was the trigger for this evolution, for this change?
For me, there are several triggers. And you could tell me afterwards that I'm probably a bit pessimistic, or but that's really how I see the situation. For me, one main trigger was clearly Me Too. Even though Me Too was mainly about sexual harassment, but for me, it clearly opened up the overall discussion on what is the situation of women today in our society, but obviously also in the working place. And I know that this discussion was a real eye-opener for a lot of people, men around me, in my personal life, but also in my professional life. Therefore, I consider that this was one of the main triggers that we had. The other ones are clearly different law initiatives that we had in the different countries, but also on a European level, asking companies to reinforce gender diversity in the different bodies, in the different governance bodies in the companies. And this is why I said probably I'm a bit pessimistic, but unfortunately, I can speak for Germany. For years and years, German industry or the company said, no, we don't need any intervention from the government, from the law. Let us do, we take the commitment, situation will improve. And situation obviously has not improved. And therefore, fortunately, different levels in the political organization took this topic seriously and put it on the agenda and even put it in the frame of a law. First, it was for the Conseil d'administration, so for the board of directors, exactly. And now we are even talking about the board of managers. So clearly for me, yes, there are a lot of studies. There are a lot of studies that help argue and that help explain why we should do that. It's not only to be nice to the women, but as I just said earlier, yes, we have this responsibility against society, but also because it makes companies more efficient, more innovative, and at the very end, more profitable.
And what could make things go faster, actually? You are actually taking some actions within the company. What could make things go faster than what we have today? One action probably that you are doing that impressed me, to be honest.
I might give you two examples. The first one is quite very much linked to what I just said before. Sometimes you have to force people to do good things. What we decided, for example, for the division that I am in charge for is that all our managers who have a variable compensation is that part of this variable compensation for this year is linked to gender diversity, to a clear objective that we have put ourselves, that we want to reach during the year. Here, what is important is to bear in mind that it's not a given. Obviously, this has to be accompanied. You cannot just put a figure in the room out there and say, okay, guys, and now let's try to get there. No, this has to be accompanied. And the second example that I would like to share with you, as quite a few people listening to us around the table might know, there is this French index on gender equality that was officially launched, I think, last year or 2 years ago. And it's mandatory for French companies from a certain size on. What I decided this year is to deploy the same tool in all my countries worldwide, because I consider that it's a bit complicated to make all these calculations, but at the end, it's a very good tool to see what is the situation in different countries and to make it comparable. Because when you apply the same way to calculate KPIs everywhere, then you really can compare. So that is concretely one of the actions that I have taken on my behalf in my role as Vice President HR.
Fantastic initiative. And I want to add something that you told me. You are actually being a mentor to women. You take time from your job actually to be mentoring ladies, considering you didn't have a, let's say, a role model or a mentor. You decided to do it your way.
Yes, fully agree. Unfortunately, myself, I didn't have the chance when I was at an earlier stage of my career to have a mentor. I really would have loved to have one, just to get very concrete support and advice on how to behave in front of specific certain behaviors, remarks. I felt quite alone, and this is why quite early in my career I decided to grant time to this topic and to spend time with young women, young professionals, and hopefully make them evolve. I also have a lot of discussions with young men, and that's also a positive point from my side. When I have these discussions with the current generation that is finishing its studies quite soon, it's very encouraging. So for me, there are positive signals, and we have to, as we say in French, we have to surf on this wave as much as we can.
Well, thank you very much, Jeannette, for this great testimonial. Thank you. So we will now move on to Croatia. that's what I love about this international pandemic, is that we can actually travel very, very easily with just our computers. So Jasenka, if yes, fantastic, you're online. Jasenka, thank you again. As I was saying in the introduction, you're HR director at Colas, based in Croatia, but you're also responsible for Slovenia. Colas, for those who maybe don't know, it's a world leader in innovative sustainable mobility solutions. Its mission is designing, building and maintaining sustainable transport infrastructure around the world. You are about 80 kilometers from Zagreb, very passionate HR for 30 years, you told me the other day. How is it actually to be a woman in Eastern Europe, such as Croatia or Slovenia?
Thank you very much, Christina. I would like to say, first of all, that I'm really very happy and honored to be a part of this event, to represent Colas, and especially to be able to present Croatia and Slovenia. So back to your question, how is to be woman now in Slovenia and Croatia? It's interesting, it's fun, but it's not easy. I think that we are doing much better than it was 20, 30 years ago, but I also see that we have a very, very long way to go. I mean, differently than Jeannette said, my mother worked, but she was worked for a paid work. She was first generation, I think, which moved from unpaid household work to paid work and work life. And what I see that this generation of women also put very highly was education of their children. And this is why I think that it was a bit easier for my generation to enter the workforce when we finished our universities and our schooling. What I think it's on this difficult side, how it's be woman in Croatia and Slovenia, but I also think it's similar in many other European countries. We are still torn between our work life, our professional aspirations, and parental and household duties, which usually take more from women than from male. So it's still frustrating how it's difficult for young mothers, young fathers to brought their families and having a professional career. In Croatia, we have, I would say, relatively good support. I think when I say support, it's a kind of social support in terms that we have a 1 year paid maternity leave. Fathers are encouraged to take half of parental leave. We have a good kindergartens which are supported by local governments usually. So despite all that, it's still very hard to juggle the career and professional career. On the plus side, what I see in this last, I would say 20 years, is that we, as a woman, we understand more how it's important to support each other and to help each other. I noticed the last 5-10 years we have more association which actually connect and support women in their careers. And also, as Jeannette mentioned, we are formally and informally, we have a number of different mentorship programs for a young woman, which I believe will help us to build a new generation of professional women.
And if you were saying you can leave for 1 year, up to 1 year, but do you find your position when you go back? You gave me the example of yourself, the opportunity actually to get promoted. So is it easy to take 1 year leave from work and come back and have the same or a better position?
Yes, legally, the position should be waited for you. But I think that business context is changing very fast. And if you are off the work for 1 year, you will have a gap, some kind of gap. You other colleagues who are not on the maternity leave will be promoted, and you will not. You will come back to the position you left when you go to the maternity leave. I experienced that when I was on maternity leave, I was called to the company and promotion was offered to me, and I needed to decide if I will continue my maternity leave and or come back to work. I came back to work. I was lucky that I had my mother-in-law and I have a kindergarten support, so it took a village to bring up my daughter. But I was privileged that I had support, but it wasn't easy decision. And from the personal point of view, I feel comfortable enough to share my, I struggled for years. Was that a good decision? Did I take something from my baby, which is not okay? And I'm lucky that now she convinced me that no, mom, I admire you. You're okay. So.
Okay, that comes to my next question, so that we can be actually having a career as a woman and also not feeling guilty or raise well our children. Both are compatible, you confirm?
Yes, I think it can be done. It's not easy, but it can be done. Of course, you need support.
Okay, and have you noticed that nowadays women dare more than they used to in Croatia or Slovenia?
Sorry?
Do women dare more nowadays?
Women there, yes. I think that new generations, I admire new generations and like seeing new generations coming to the work. And as I mentioned, I have a 22 years daughter, and when I talk to her and to her friends, I'm so happy to see how different they are. They are much more brave, they are bolder, they are impatient, they want everything, they're much more clear, they clearer vision of what they want from their future, and they dare to ask for that. They are not, when I compare that with my mother's generation, as I mentioned, she worked, but she settled for less. She didn't expect to move forward in the corporate ladder. She was a kind of a clerk, and that was fine. She was happy that she can bring addition to our family budget. But for my generation, we wanted to be accomplished, we wanted to be recognized, and we wanted to be rewarded. My daughter, she wants everything now. And I think actually that this impatience will help us to accelerate gender diversity and all topics we are talking today about.
I was going to ask you the last question. So according to you as an HR, opportunities like this, the fact that they are bolder, young ladies are bolder than they used to be, that could help to make things evolve faster in order to have more women, let's say, in the higher position?
Yes, I think, when I'm looking back into my 30 years of experience, a lot of changes happened, actually. I think what we see, at least here in Croatia and Slovenia, is that in the terms of education, more and more female enter technological engineering and science schools. When I was attending university, we had 10-20% female on this technical university. Today it goes up to 50%. Also, I remember when I started as a trainee, I recall recently when we started to talk that I had one presentation with executive board directors, and that was a huge conference room filled with 50 plus men. So no one, I mean, no even one female was there. Nowadays you can see, as you know, we are in a construction business, and naturally there is only 10-12% of female in the general work population. But when we are talking about the top level managers, there are 33% of female representation in our company. So what as HR we can do, or as a company, what we can do, I think that we need to understand that there is a different type of leadership, you know. Usually we stereotype leadership as a very masculine trait, as a very masculine characteristics. But actually, I think the world today, which is very complex, changing very fast, need a different type of leadership. And female tends to be more participatory, they tends to be more intuitive, they tends to be coaches and mentors to their teams. So I think that we need first redefine the forms of leadership. Second, what I think it's very important topic is that we need to recognize that most women in our workforce have a second shift responsibilities. So this work-life balance is much more important topic than it was ever before. And if you want to help women to reach higher position in organization, as a society and as a company, we need to help them to cover the second shift responsibilities. And of course, the very important topic, which I think company needs to address better, is this gap in gender pay gap. Still, you know, we have in Croatia, Slovenia, as in other parts of Europe, we have a good legislation. But when we come to the real life, we could see up to 20% difference for the same job. And I think it's not acceptable.
So still progress to make, but on a good way.
Still progress to make.
Thank you very much, Jasenka. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll move on now to both Germany and Sweden. Please, Nadia and Jerome, join in. That's the fantastic technology. I love that. It's incredible. Well, thank you very much again for joining. Let me just remind that you are working both for Atlas Copco, which is a global industrial company present in more than 180 countries. Atlas Copco is a market-leading provider of industrial productivity solutions, such as compressor, vacuum solutions, generators, pumps, power tools, and also assembly system. You are for Nadia based in Sweden right now, and Jerome, you are in Germany. So I just want to start first with Nadia. You are originally from Morocco. You lived in France, you lived in Brazil, and now in Stockholm, Sweden. And you decided to invite a man. My God, a man today on the Women's Day. And Jerome, you have Italian origins, lived in France, in the UK, in Sweden, and now in Germany. And you both indeed have a very international profile. I'm going to ask a very provocative question to Jerome first, if you don't mind, Nadia. Why are you here today?
First, I hope I'm not the only man here. Maybe there are more around. No,
hopefully.
Hopefully. No, but I think it's like Jeannette said it. It's on my agenda as a general manager to increase diversity. And it's not only gender diversity, and it's also diversity with nationalities, with age. And I think many managers like me have this on our agenda, and many companies like my company, we're looking at increasing gender diversity just because it makes business sense. You know, it brings some value to the company, to the group, to be diverse. I think it was also mentioned before. And for me, as a general manager, what I'm facing is that I don't get enough female candidates. It's as simple as that. I've got right now many jobs, I'm looking for candidates and I get 1 or 2 applications maximum. So reason for me to be here is a bit also to understand why there are not so many more women applying for this kind of jobs, and what I can do to change that. And I think the association of Elles bougent and this event might help this. So I'm very glad to be part of it. Thank you for inviting me.
And we are very happy to have you, of course, because that's hand in hand that we will make things move. We are definitely convinced about that. Thank you very much for joining. Nadia, how is it to be a woman working actually in engineering industry and in Sweden? Because that's another thing. It's probably different from France or from Morocco or from Brazil.
Well, I would say that working in engineering in general is very fun. I work a lot with innovation, new products, needs from customers that we need to attend, and we have to be very creative to see how we can design a new product and make them used by the end users. So I think it's really fun to work with engineering. From my past experience also, I think it's really a privilege to have such a choice in terms of jobs. I have worked in purchasing, project management, offering, now product management, marketing, etc. So it's really enriching to have so many different jobs that we could let's say experience. And also it's a lot about teamwork in engineering. We rarely do something by our own. It's not like, oh, I'm the inventor of this and this is great thanks to me. It's a big teamwork where we have a lot of different nationalities, a lot of different people from different backgrounds, and that's also very enriching. So I would say that working in engineering is really fun. And in Sweden, it's true that Sweden is famous for equality, I would say, between men and women. And it's true that compared to all my past experience, it's very comfortable. Of course, I find often myself the only woman or the only young woman or the only foreigner in the meetings, but I have never felt it. People are very open at work. They trust you are going to do a good job because there is a good reason for you to be here. And the difference really comes from the outcome of your job, from the results you will provide, nothing related to your gender or age or nationality.
And so if I jump to the next question to you both, what type of evolution or progress have you noticed actually in seeing more women into high position or even the condition of women? What, maybe Jerome to start with, have you seen any progress? You're saying we are lacking women in the industry, but is there a progress?
Yeah, I mean, there are some progress in terms of targets. I mean, it was mentioned before, variable compensations, that we have also some strict guidelines for every job application. We need to have at least one woman candidate. So we have this kind of target, but I think the biggest change has been in the mindsets of the managers. I think it's not only a target, it's also people that really start to realize the value of diversity. I think it's as simple as that. I mean, I always take that example that, you know, because sometimes my colleagues, managers are coming to me and say, but why do we really have to increase the gender diversity? And I mean, we find so easily some great male candidates and no females, but I'm telling them, okay, but if you have a group only of 40 plus years old in your team, don't you want to employ young people? And it's exactly the same. I think the idea is to look for more women in our working environment will make our teams more diverse, more creative, more productive, in the same way as we employ young people to balance it in a group of employees.
So basically your way is to compare to other, let's say, diversity subjects. Yeah. I see. Mm-hmm. What about you, Nadia?
Yeah, I would say that the evolution or the progress that I have seen is more on the style of management, because I would say that my generation and the generation afterwards, they don't want a job forever or a career in the same group forever. They work more for the environment and how they enjoy their jobs. So if they see that there is a management style that is not fitting them, they just leave the company, and they are really not afraid about that. So I think this has changed the style of the managers to integrate more the emotions in the management way, and also to consider the person not only as an employee but as a person, a whole person. Otherwise, people leave. So, of course, there is more room for improvement. We know that we don't get enough female candidates. I also see that in all the companies I have worked in, it's rare to have a woman in top management for business-related positions. But I think there is a good progress since I started.
And being a woman and an engineer, is that incompatible with family life? Because that's probably something that young ladies here are listening.
Yeah, I suppose you mean taking more and more responsibilities. And
Exactly.
Of course, it's a stereotype that I find a lot among the young ladies, I would say. Yeah, I always take this parallel that we say behind a strong man, there is a strong woman. It's the same in my case. I think you need support when you want to take more responsibilities. And in my case, when I got promoted to Sweden, I was pregnant at the same time. So it was not very easy to handle, but my partner really helped and really supported me. And maybe before it was exceptional, but I see more and more men, and also the youngest men, they want to spend more time with their families. They want to spend more time raising their kids, etc., etc. So I think it's more about a teamwork and how to find the best timing for taking more responsibilities compared to your partner. So I would say that no, it's not incompatible, not at all. And I think it's also important to be the model for your kids, that you have not sacrificed anything for them, that you have done what you wanted, and that you give them some inspiration for that as well.
Yeah, sure.
Firstly, if I may bounce a bit on that in terms of career progression, I think we talked about the mindset of the managers, but I think the mindset of the female candidates or the woman as well in a company is a very important point. I've seen in many cases in my experience where there were some opportunities and just a clear woman there I would think will apply, did not apply. And then I went to her and said, why did you not apply? And she said, oh, because I don't have this and don't have that. But then I said, you know, at the end of the day, we compare candidate A and candidate B, you know, and she doesn't know who will be candidate B. So I say, if you are really interested in that position, you should apply. And this mindset, I think it's very important, I think, to see further women growing up in the organization. I think it's something I've seen many times.
So basically encouraging also, it's a very important to be encouraged and also to encourage from what I heard from both of you. And basically the message that you were sending, Nadia, choose the right man. Yeah. Choose the right man who's ready also, or the woman, the partner in general. Yes, choose the right partner. It's both sides and indeed.
And I would also add also choose the right company.
I mean, to the right company, indeed.
It was Jeannette who also said it, you know, that, you know, if a company is not going not to select you as a candidate because you wrote something on your CV, then of course you should not work for such a company.
Of course.
And this is clear to see, so choose a good manager.
And I'll go even further. You shared that with me. Behind the company, there's the good manager too. Choose your manager somehow. Make sure that the manager, of course, we can't always choose, but make sure that the manager you are having, you both told me that, is compatible to your values, because that could be a problem. Yeah. Thank you very much. I have a couple of questions for you. What recommendation would you actually like to share to the audience today, and probably specifically to the young ladies who could hear us, watch us?
I can start. I would say that the most important is to be yourself, is to dare and fight for what you want. And I think it's important to remember that it's okay not to be perfect. It's okay to fail. A failure is not failing. And it's okay not to be 100% all the time. Sometimes you have a lot of energy and you're performing very well, sometimes not. But this is not what counts. What counts is your mindset, is your attitude, and how you will react to the obstacles you will get. So if you know what you want, then fight for it. And if you don't know, then you have to explore, but don't be shy. Just dare to fight for that.
Fantastic. And what about Jerome?
Yeah, I would recommend first to work in an international environment. I think it's much more flexible, you know, in terms of boundaries. In some countries, it's very traditional, the way things are. I think if you work in an international company, and it's much more flexible, there are different influences from different culture and values. Like for us, we have a Swedish group, and this influence obviously our companies in Germany are working, for example. Even maybe if the country is not as flexible as Sweden is, maybe we can make it work in our company in this way. So I would say choose to work in an international environment. I would say a good recommendation. And then I would say also in the mindset of women, don't let anybody tell you it's not possible. I mean, I've been told, oh, it's not possible to be saleswoman, and I was a very successful saleswoman. And then you go to another country, oh, it's impossible to have a service technician woman. But then you go to India and they have a very good service technician woman. So in production, people say, oh, it's very men-dominated, traditional. No, nowadays industrial production is a lot of software. It's a very nice working environment. It's very ergonomic, you know. If you can see that many women are going to hospitals, so to work there, it's much less ergonomic to work in a hospital than it is to work in a factory nowadays. So I think really remove all these, you know, boundaries that maybe it's actually possible. Whatever you want.
We might be actually our worst enemies sometimes.
Yeah, I think so.
With what we think, definitely.
Very true.
And lastly, Nadia, I think you have some internship to propose. Where can we find the internships? Are they internships in Sweden, actually?
Yeah, we have just launched the global internship program. So that's many interns that we are recruiting at different countries. I can send you the link through the chat. These interns will have to work together on a global project, but also locally with the teams they will belong to. So
fantastic. So especially now the pandemic, it's a little bit less complicated than us in Western countries right now. So I think you invite us, give us a great invitation to come to Northern countries that treat women quite well also.
And may I add also that,
sure, of course.
I'm looking right now for an automation engineer and a mechanical engineer. So if you want to live in Munich, very nice place to live and a nice company to work for, you're most welcome to send me your CV.
Fantastic. I think that's the place to be today.
Yes.
And of course, we will have an opportunity to finish at the end with the two of you also, with all of you. So see you in a couple of minutes. We'll now come back to Paris. Thank you very much to both of you. Let's move now to Madeleine. Madeleine, if you can switch on your camera. Madeleine AUSSUDRE. Hello again. Thank you very much. Well, you graduated from ESIGELEC end of 2018. ESIGELEC, for those who don't know, it's an engineering school based in Paris. And nowadays, as I said, you are a system engineering at Elles in Paris. You have great opportunities to already work in several countries. So you're going to tell us about it in a couple of minutes. What is Elles, for those who don't know? It's a French multinational company that designs and builds electrical systems and provides services for the aerospace, defense, transportation, and security markets. I'd like to ask you first, Madeleine, why did you actually decide to go for engineering studies?
I would say that I had good example. So I grew up in a engineers family. So my two parents are engineer. My grandparents are engineer, as well as my aunt and all the people around me. So I always had this good example of engineering career, and it has never been an issue for me to be a woman and become an engineer. Sorry. So I always had the example of my mother working as an engineer in the industry, pharmaceutical, yes, industry. Sorry. And so when I was young, I always wanted to do everything. So I was very curious. I wanted to be a physician. I wanted to be an archaeologist, and everything related to science. So my parents just told me, okay, just become an engineer, and then you will see, you will have many opportunity, and you will be able to do whatever you want. So that's how maybe I choose to become an engineer, because I had good example, and they told me that, okay, if you are an engineer, you can do whatever you want. So just go. And that's how I become.
I see. That's exactly what most of you said before, including Nadia. It's not because you're doing engineering school that you are going to do only engineering, but you can do plenty of things within engineering. What's something incredible happened to you actually when you were on your second year? And you're right, Nora, actually ESIGELEC is based in Rouen and not in Paris, but not yet, maybe one day. But actually Madeleine is based in Paris right now. So what incredible things happened actually thanks to Elles community? Tell us about this.
Yes, actually, it started when I was in my first year in ESIGELEC. I get the opportunity to do an internship within Ariane Group company, which is building the Ariane launcher, Ariane 5 actually now. Future Ariane 6 launcher. It was based in Normandy, and so I had this opportunity, and then I discovered that, okay, I am able to do it. I am able to work in the spatial field. So now let's try to realize a dream. And my dream was to see a real launch, and to go work for the French Guiana Space Center. So many people told me, okay, you know, it will be very hard. You don't have many chances to go there because maybe you are too young. So I just finished this first internship, and then there was this event with the Elles. I went with ESIGELEC. It was for the car show in Paris. And I met this woman which was working for Ariane Group as well. And when I heard that, I just went to talk to her, and I said, oh, I just finished my internship. I was working in Vernon, and said, oh yeah, me too. Wow, we didn't meet at that time. So we started to talk, and we spent the all day together. And I told her, okay, my wish is to go there and work to the spatial center in French Guiana. And said, oh, but you know, I know people there. I have some of my old colleagues there, so I can just ask. And she just sent my resume, and she just not send my resume. She also say, okay, she motivated them to hire me for this internship, and she asked again and again and again for me, and say, okay, do you have any news for Madeleine? Do you have a position open? Do you have an internship open for her? And she kept asking until I actually get there. And I had this interview, and I said, okay, and now we just heard about you and your resume, so okay, let's come and let's do this. So I went for months in the French Guiana, and I saw launch, actually 3, and it was one of the best experience of my life. And it was just because I went to this car show, and I just met this woman. It was such a chance, I mean, to meet her.
To meet her and to experience the launch of rockets, actually. This is incredible.
Yeah. No, that was
something that not everyone lives once in your life. We see it on TV. We don't see it in real. Tell me about what happened. How did you experience it? Have you ever imagined working for the launch of a rocket? I mean, this is incredible.
No, and you know, even today when I think about it, I say, okay, it's not realistic. I mean, wow, I did that, and no, it was amazing. I would have never imagined I was able even to do it or to go there when I arrived at school, because I didn't know I was capable, what I was capable of, and the engineering school and all this opportunity and chance and help I get from the women there. It really increased my my confidence. I don't know if it's a word. Yeah.
Yes, you're confident.
Yeah. I am more confident now, and I know, okay, now I can do it. So let's go further. Let's go, higher.
Fantastic experience. And you lived in Guyana, you lived in France, you also lived in Dubai. And I wanted to ask you actually, how is it to be a woman in a, let's say, mainly men's world and engineering world in all those countries that you have experienced?
Well, it was always good for me. I never had as difficulties to work in men environments, and even in Dubai, we were not a lot of women. We were only 7 on 150 people, but we were very close together, and we helped each other, and we were. I don't know, there was this community there, very strong community, and it really helped. But there was, I mean, I never faced bad words or bad discussion about women position during my all this experience. I mean, it was always fine. A lot of kindness coming from all the manager, because we are not a lot of women, so we have to keep them, keep them motivated and keep them here in the team.
And it was actually an asset, you told me, to be a woman.
Yeah. I feel that I am working in very technical field, and I am still a very technical engineer. And there are not a lot of women working in this field. Sorry. So yeah, it was an opportunity, because I don't know. I can express myself. I can show that, okay, a woman can do it. Okay, I can do it. It's not an issue, and I will show you. And it's kind of it motivates me. It motivates me, like to show that we can do it.
Great. And any message you would like to pass to the audience today?
Yeah, I want to say to the young girl that, okay, just when the time will come, and when you will have to choose your studies, just take some time and let's get some information about school engineering program. Just have a look, and you will see in how many fields you can work, how many jobs you can do, and what are the opportunity for your career, how far you can go with being engineer woman today. That's my advice. Keep being curious.
Keep being curious and actually know what you want from what you have experienced also with the Rockets Lounge. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madeleine. Thank you very much. We will now move on to Finland, to Turku, and please, Prashani, you can join and turn on your camera now if you are connected. Prashani is. Yes, fantastic. Great. Thank you very much. You two again for joining. You are on your 5th year as a student in Finland, and you are actually from Sri Lanka. This is the final year. And if we come back to the time you were in Sri Lanka, back to school, you told me you were an A-level outgoing, sporty young lady, and you were within the class, you had only 3 girls versus 27 boys. What made you decide to go for engineering school?
I think it was the fact that in Sri Lanka, women, let's say girls, they were not encouraged enough. So it was some sort of a trend for them to sort of choose either biology or commerce because it was sort of the easy way out, I'd say. But for me, I really wanted to challenge myself and be a little daring and go to maths, do engineering, and it was amazing to see. So I kind of went back home and I sort of researched while I was in school as to what engineering is really about. And going through that, I found something really fascinating, and that like it was really extraordinary for me, which was the plane. So the plane was actually built by the Wright brothers, I think, in 1903, and I was just mind blown how that small device now is able to carry more than 300 passengers in air. And this is not just because of one particular thing. This was so many technical fields and so many engineering creativity brought together, and it helped build something that you could dream of back in the day, back 100 years ago. So this really kind of fascinated me and helped me challenge myself to sort of do it and find out what more is there in this engineering.
Great. And how did you decide? This is a huge step that you made from Sri Lanka. Decide to move to France. I mean, a huge step from Sri Lanka to go to the Western countries in a country that you were actually not speaking the language. How did it come, and why France? Why Europe?
So I think the reason that I chose Europe was because of this connectivity, and it's very visible in the judge panel because you can see you keep telling them they go from different countries, and this was something really interesting that I thought was amazing to come to Europe because you get this sort of influence from so many different countries. You get people giving different ideas, and they are not similar to your ideas, and it's just amazing to see things like this. So this really attracted me to Europe. And the reason why I chose France was because, as I said, I was going through these planes, and it brought me to Airbus, and I really wanted to work in Airbus one day. So I thought France would be a great opportunity for me.
Great. And how is it actually to be a young lady studying engineering? And now from France, you went actually to study in Finland. How is it?
Firstly, it was, I think, when I came to France, it was a little bit intimidating for me because, as you said, the language barrier was there for me. But then again, it was also in my mindset because you can't think of language as a barrier. It's really just to challenge yourself to move on further. And I think I was really lucky enough to have a sort of mentor back in ESIGELEC who was Nora. So she kept sort of pushing me forward to make mistakes, to find out and to just go out there, talk with people, and just kind of be open minded and take opportunities. So this was really cool, and I think the encouragement. I think SCHUH is a really good community because I think I had a lot of encouragement given to me, and I was lucky enough to get that back at my university.
Fantastic. What type of career do you see yourself to do after those studies? Are you going to join Airbus? If we have people from Airbus today, I think you hear the call of Prashani, okay?
I think I would really, I have a lot of goals that I have a big goal, and then we have, of course, small goals. So my big goal is basically to push myself technically because sometimes it can be a little scary go into a technical field because there is so much of things to learn and things to implement practically. So I think that was the reason why I wanted to be ahead in a technical field in a multinational company.
Okay, so everyone that is listening, in case you have something that actually resemble to that. And lastly but not least, some advice you would actually give to the young women, but to all of us actually who joined today, because any advice is always interesting for everyone.
I think the past 5 years of my life has been very enriching to me. And I think the first type of advice that I can give to anyone is to be around really intellectual people, because I think in a way it will nourish your brain and it will just open your mind to different possibilities and ideas. Because when I was in university, what I thought was different from what someone else would think, and I'm like, oh my god, that's amazing. That's just like it just pops ideas into your head, and I think this is amazing, and I think you should be able to be around different intellectuals and kind of nourish your brain. And I think the second thing that was I think would be cool is for you to encourage others, because I think encouraging others will help you yourself boost confidence and also give you a really amazing sense of happiness. Um, I think that's really important for females because we need a sort of motivation within ourselves, a power within ourselves, and when you encourage others, I think it is kind of you will get it embedded to you in a way. So I think this is amazing. And finally, I think take opportunities. Um, it's okay to be afraid. I think if you are afraid, that means you are really daring yourself to do something. So it's okay to be afraid, but you should take opportunities. It's not just about job opportunities. It can be like taking part in an event in an association, being a leader, or anything that can just help you step outside your comfort zone and help you kind of improve your soft skills. So I think these are the three things that I can say that I have learned in class.
Thank you very much, Prashani. Great story also, leaving from Sri Lanka, going to France and now to Finland. Thank you very much for sharing your testimonial. Thank you. And we'll get back to all of you. So please keep your camera, Prashani, and please turn on everyone, every speakers, all the cameras. So before I ask one of my questions, I'd like to just make sure we don't have yet some questions, actually. Any questions? Thanks a lot to all of you. Any questions that you might have, don't hesitate to put the questions in the chats. Well, I'll start with my question so that other people dare to ask questions, because there's something that actually came back a lot in those last testimonials is about daring. So if you had a dream, if you dared to have, let's say, dream for women in the future, and this applies also for Jerome, obviously, who was probably having some problems connecting. So I'll ask him again the question. Oh, you're back. Okay, fantastic. Yeah. So if you had a dream and you could make this true for women in the future, what could it be? I'll ask first Jeannette.
My dream for the future, obviously finally equal rights, equal treatment, respectful treatment, and at a much higher speed than what we have seen for the last 30 years. Because if we continue with that speed, then we will never make it. At least we will not experience it anymore. So we really have to speed up, and then we will make it. And that's my dream. And therefore we need men and women.
We have one ambassador here.
Yeah, I'm really happy. Thank you, Jerome.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move to Jasenka.
Yes, I think my dream would be to encourage women into a point that they would be able to have their inner voice and inner power given out to society and to share different concepts and ideas in the future.
Great, thank you very much. We move to Jasenka.
Thank you. I have a dream that in the future we achieve better understanding that excellence, talent, and leadership is gender-free. I think that we all would agree that men and women are equal, but we are not identical. All of us bring different values, abilities, and perspective to the table in our companies. And even if we appreciate that we have a different perspectives, different way of thinking, different way of solution making, decision making, I think that our companies can progress and really achieve growth, because then we use the whole potential we have in our companies and actually in our society, in our mankind. So that would be my dream.
Great, Jasenka. Thank you very much. Nadia?
Yeah, I like a lot what you have just said, the gender free. And I think we should be, I don't know, not only gender, it's also age and personality or nationality or whatever. We should not define humankind by this, but more by what he or she brings to the table. But if I dream about something, I think I dream that when a small girl falls, we don't tell her, oh, you have just made your skirt or your dress dirty. We would tell her, congratulations, try again. I think we are still in this stereotype, and sometimes I feel really sad to hear that from parents that do it in not on purpose. So.
Definitely. Thank you very much. I just want to add something that you told me, Jasenka, earlier the other day, is that raise our boys differently also is being one thing. And it's related to what you say, that Nadia, maybe stop the bias and the stereotypes for both men, because also men and women have, let's say, some issues about the stereotypes they give to each other and one another. And that brings me to Jerome. What about you? What's your dream for women and men, actually?
Yes, I think Jeannette said in the beginning, to have this freedom to choose, I would say. We are all living in societies where women have men and men have freedom to choose, to make a career or not, or to have be able to have a balanced life between career and private life. I think it's really a great society, or great companies to work for, I would say. And for me as a manager, I think, it just is more fun, isn't it? If you have a diverse group to work with, it's much more fun. And like Nadia said, it's really not only men and women, it's also young and old people. And for us, in SCHUH, we have many nationalities, and I always enjoyed that. I'm now in a German company and just employ someone from India, and it's great to see, this interaction. And first time someone here is working from India. So, and I think that's will be a great vision for the future.
Great, thank you very much. Did we lose Madeleine? Because I don't see her right now. Did we lose Madeleine, or she's probably going to come back in a minute? Yes, you are here back. Thank you. What about you? What is your dream for women in the future?
My first dream is to get more young student women in engineering school. Like to be half men and women in engineering school, and same in technical work, because there are not a lot of women there, and I want to have women colleague. I want more women colleague, and yeah, that's my dream.
Fantastic. Great. Do we have any questions that you'd like to ask our great speakers and inspiring moments? I think these are very inspiring moments. Well, I do have extra questions that I could ask you, actually. How can we, this would be something that probably Jerome could reply to, how can we actually make men be more, let's say, involved in women equality?
Tough one. No, I would say as managers, I think I always recommend my managers when they are recruiting people to really not only look at experience and expertise, because if you do that, then you will often have more men as candidates. I think what you have to look at it as a key selection factor is a mindset, is a flexible mindset, a growth mindset. We really don't want to have people with good CV, where people who want to be able to face the challenges of the future. And so when you put the flexible mindset as a key selection criteria, suddenly you have many more candidates, which could be a top candidate, and many more women there. And for us, we have a policy that if we have 2 equal candidates, we always give priority to the woman, because it will bring more diversity to the group. So as a company, we will benefit from it. So this maybe a recommendation I would do to men who are managers, I would say.
Okay, diversity is one thing, but what can they actually, let's say, gain for them also as men? As we said, we have all those stereotypes for men, but we had them for women, but we had them for both. Yeah. So what can they win? We were talking about balance of life. Probably that's one thing that, and you were saying that earlier, Nadia, that probably some men could also spend more time. Some men would like to spend more time with their family and not necessarily be the one on the top always. Isn't that something that speaks to you, Jerome? Of course, you're a general manager, so it's hard to ask you this question.
Oh, no, but I remember when I lived in Sweden, I took paternity leave. And I remember my HR manager came to me, when are you going to take paternity leave? And she came back again 2 weeks later, when are you going to take paternity leave? It was not if, it was when. And she said, it's very good for you because it will be great management training. That was her first point. She said, you will really learn how to juggle several balls at the same time. You will also better understand your female employees later on. So it was key. So I think it brings a lot to see this from both sides.
Fantastic. That's good to hear. I think we'll spread the word everywhere. Anything that you'd like on the subject, actually, to add something, maybe about what you have done, what tricks you have found actually to engage more men into women's cause, let's say? No, you haven't found anything yet, any extra? You can share it also in the chat. Well, there's another question I will ask you to you ladies. Did actually the networks, the student networks or the alumni networks, did they help you actually to choose the career in their choice, in the choice of the career? Did it help you actually? The choice of the jobs, were you influenced by that? And this applies to everyone, actually. Does the network is helping you to actually move on to one career to another? Well, we had the example of Madeleine, for instance. No, apparently it's only Elles helping out actually the people here.
No, I can talk from my experience.
Sure.
I was working in the food industry at the end of my studies. I did a business master after my engineering school, and someone from my business master helped me in my first job, I would say. So I think it helps, and it was also a woman, and it was before this, let's say, hiring wave. It was a lot of men, etc. So I think she pushed that a little bit in her company.
Great.
But other than that, no, not really.
So having mentors and having role models could be something that could be more developed, I suppose. that is something that has helped. So the fact that we are organizing, that Elles Bougent is organizing such events can be some triggers, let's say, to be inspired and to make things move. Great. Well, a warm thank you to all of you. Thank you very much. Please stay with stay with us, and I'd just like to share before I give the floor actually to Amel Kefif, who is the General Director of Elles Bougent. I'd like to just summarize what you just said by a quote. Hearing you, actually, all of you, one by one, or between both of you also, Jerome and Nadia, I have this quote that I thought was really interesting is, whatever you do or dream, you can begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. And that's a quote from Goethe. So I think we definitely have to dare, and I join all the thoughts and testimonials that you have shared today. So thank you very much to all of you. Thank you. And I'll give the floor now to Amel, the General Director, Amel Kefif, the General Director of Elles Bougent. Thank you. I think we'll leave to you the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Christina, and thank you to all of you speakers and participants. I'm very glad to have been a part of this webinar today. And we have just heard why it is always important to teach young women taste, interest, and the freedom to choose their life and career, all their paths. And this is why this webinar today has been organized with all our partners from universities, schools, and enterprises. And this is why it is so important. Women and men on this panel are convinced of this fight and support Elles Bougent every day. We have heard that the impact of adults on young girls leads to professional careers, but also exceptional life. And to continue to have real progress on gender equity, we must follow in this direction to promote, to share with women and men, despite this pandemic, and never give up our efforts. And just look after what motivates you. Have a look on what is around you and what opportunities are open to you today in industries, in engineer, scientific or technological fields. There are millions. And with Elles Bougent, it's 8 March every day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And don't hesitate to spread the word with the hashtag, remember, hashtag March 8th, every day with Elles Bougent. Thank you very much to you, dear public. Thank you very much to all the speakers who inspired us today. And of course, to all the companies. I just want to remember to just say again, the companies that join us today for this webinar: Plastic Omnium, Intelligent Exterior System, we have Atlas Copco, we have also Colas, we have ESIGELEC, and obviously we have, as we said earlier, l'Agence Universitaire de la Francophonie. Thank you very much to everyone. Thank you, Amel. Thank you to for this whole organization for this webinar. And I wish you again the very best for this International Women's Day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all. It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.